Right, we're almost coming to the end of the night. Our last, but not least, performance is one of our own. It's our very own social convener. You all know him? Cameron, over there. Last performance was here, actually, on this very spot.
That very one.
Yes, right. Right there, yes.
Where the blue ribbons are.
So, yes, here you go. Cameron.
You're all the local boy.
I'm actually not part of Comic Sock, but I'm thinking of joining if this goes well, and if it doesn't, I'm thinking of killing myself. As Aaron has so eloquently introduced me, I'm Cameron. I'm from California, and I don't know all of you, which means that there's at least a decent chance that some of you are new JSAs, and that some of you are from America, and that some of you have indeed ridden a plane in the past couple of months. And actually, kind of like my friend before, I mean, I have my own problems with flying, I can't sleep, etc., etc., but I actually like plane rides because I consider them some sort of social experiment. And I'll explain what I mean. I'm kind of the seat buddy. You know that guy? I'm the one who gets on the plane, and I sit down, and I look to the person next to me, and I kind of gauge them. You know? I want to talk to them a little bit, I want to get to know them, I want to hear their life story, I want to make sure they're not going to light their crotch on fire and blow a hole in the side of the plane. Usually, it's kind of like making friends in kindergarten, the way the conversations go. Or at least the way I would imagine making friends in kindergarten would have gone if I had made any. And you can tell how it's going to go in about the first 8 seconds. If they're into the conversation, usually the two questions I'm obliged to answer are the fact that I study at the University of St. Andrews and that I study medieval history. Now, I've never tried to lie at this point because I'm too proud of my subject, but maybe sometime I should just answer that I study something boring like economics. But I don't know what it is about medieval history that makes people feel obliged to tell me something that they read in a magazine, or saw somewhere, or had a 6-year-old tell them. Because generally they're A, vague, B, wrong, C, just wildly hilarious. I actually deeply appreciate most of them. I've had everything from the Germans invented politics. You know, it was the French who put the knight on the horse. And my favorite one, and it always starts the same way, it's always, well, you know. Well, you know. What do you study? I'm a medieval historian. Well, you know. Well, if you have to tell me that, I probably do. But I'm not going to brag. It's just what I study, right? One lady, she looks at me, and I've just explained that I'm a medieval historian, and she says, well, you know, the English language wasn't always the same as it is today. I was relieved because I was going to go take all of my Shakespeare's back because I thought they were a little wonky or whatever. No, but what do you do in that situation? I mean, you have to respond tactfully, right? Because that's what we're taught. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to be politically incorrect. And generally I'm now pretty good at that. I wasn't always good at that, like in kindergarten, which, come to think of it, is probably why I didn't make any friends in kindergarten. Because I would pull no punches. And you know why? Because I was the kid that could read. Yeah, and you know what? I hated the kid who couldn't. And you all know him. You all know him. He had a name like Brad, or Kyle, or Chad, or something else that was 4 letters or less because his parents knew he wasn't going to be good at reading and didn't want to fuck him too much at one time. And Kyle is sitting there, and you've got your book open, and I don't know why, but it's a favorite tactic of kindergarten teachers to make everyone take turns reading, which is torture! They're all sitting there, and Cameron's got his book open, and he doesn't have ADHD, but he's making a good impression of looking at what he does, because the person in front of him is like, the Huey roll, Huey roll, found it out. And he scrunches his face like that's going to make him think faster. And then comes the lip trembling. Squirrel! Squirrel! No one else finds this helpful. I'm the one that gets in trouble. I'm teaching him to read. I'm doing your job. You're not doing squat. What are you sitting there? Found it out, Chad. It's okay. We have all day for you to read that the squirrel liked the acorn. We have all day. Fine. And I realized, why am I so different than the other people? What did I not learn that everyone else did? And I realized it's because for the first 5 years of my life, I didn't really have a TV growing up, so I was forced to learn how to read. So when I did have a TV, I started watching all the other shows that people had been watching for a while. Now I realize that this next joke is going to be rather American, and most of you will probably not, so it's going to be lost on any of you, but I'm going to tell it anyway because I think it's funny. But I realized what these kind of shows are, and have any of you heard of Captain Planet?
Yes!
Okay, good. That's at least some of you. I don't want to be too out of line when I say this is actually the gayest superhero I've ever seen. And I've actually told gay people this, and they're like, yeah, really fruity. Picture a blue, muscly man, kind of like a Richard Simmons, like aerobic instructor type guy, who wears red short shorts and an open red vest, who's an environmentalist. I'm not making this up. His name is Captain Planet. I want to see his military insignia. I want to see his Glock. Where are his 9mm shells? This is serious. No, all you do is gather 5 teenagers of different races together, and they all have a power ring, and they're elemental. That's the shtick. Water, fire, earth, air, and heart. Provided the heart guy. Heart isn't even an element. Just because you needed to have the Latin American kid doesn't mean that makes the show better. I don't care. You know what? It's really easy to defeat political correctness. You've offended me. I don't care! Argument 1. Okay. But actually, I really do care about people's feelings. I might not be the most politically correct person, especially because I tend to have values that people don't consider politically correct. And that's because I was raised a Christian. And I still am a Christian. I'm a very devoted Christian. I'll come out of the closet. I'll be very upfront about it. And there are a couple things that you learn as a Christian child. You know, like don't swear. And I think that's good. I think that people should watch what comes out of their mouth. They think that other words are sometimes more appropriate. But I'll tell you, it's not fair that Christians don't have swear words. It's really not. I don't care how holy you are. When you slam your finger in a car door, something's coming out of your mouth. And ouch just doesn't feel like the right man for the job. It really doesn't. Something about that shit really makes it feel like it's beginning to heal. It does. Actually, there are people who think that like, oh, you know, swearing is so bad and, you know, Jesus wouldn't swear. Funny story about that. Well, there's this one time, and I'm not going to get into the details of it, but Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and the Pharisees are like these Jewish law priests, and he calls them, you generation of vipers, children. Which basically means, you sons of snakes. We have a similar expression. We substitute snakes for dogs. Now you follow. Which either means, well, Jesus was a sinner, or sin isn't always what you think it is. Another place where it's really difficult for me to maintain my Christian lifestyle is in the car. For some reason, I find it difficult to be a Christian when I'm trying to treat my fellow brethren on the road with kindness and respect and all the virtues that Jesus could bestow on me, because they just cut me off! I'm sitting there and I've got my worship song on and I'm like, hallelujah, praise the Lord. I will tear out your spleen! God, Grandma, get off the fucking road! God is good. And it's not even difficult to drive in California. I mean, California is a place where everyone actually drives. And if you watch my last comedy routine, you'll understand this. We don't actually walk anywhere in California. That's like a sin. Because there are Mexicans who do that for you. But you know, that's not racist, that's truth. I can't say anything. No, but Los Angeles is a city built around roads and private transportation, and there is no public transportation. You can't get a bus, you can't get a taxi, you have to drive yourself. But even then, it's still easier than driving in Britain, and I'll explain why. Because California, we've gotten used to this whole driving idea so much that You have an 8-lane freeway, and there's 8 lanes going one way and then a median, and then 8 lanes going the other way. There's only 2 signs in California, at least 2 that I've ever seen. It's 65 and good luck. And you just go, and you just drive and drive. I could never drive in Britain. I could never drive in Britain because there's like cul-de-sacs, and the signs are like these weird circly spiky thingies, and then there's humps for 50 yards. What is that, humps? What am I supposed? Yards, and then there's like the elderly people signs, like, do I get 50 points if I get all? What a cold weather, ice on, okay, and it's very cryptic language too, like, ice, 4, ahead, 50. What am I going to do now? I have actually no idea what's going on. Which only makes me swear more, which only means that it's harder for me to keep my Christian lifestyle. And then it all goes back to square one, because if I can't drive anywhere, then that means I have to take a plane, which means I'm obliged to introduce myself to someone else again, just so that I can hear that it was the Catholic Church that started the Black Plague.